Picture this scenario. It's 3 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. You've already consumed 4 cups of coffee today. Your hands are trembling slightly. Your heart is beating faster than normal. Your mind feels like it's racing at 100 miles per hour, yet somehow you can't focus on a single task for more than 30 seconds. The cursor blinks on your screen. The deadline looms. And what do? You reach for another cup, telling yourself that this one will finally help you concentrate. But here's the brutal, uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to hear. What if coffee isn't solving your focus problem at all? What if it's actually creating it? What if the very substance you depend on every single day to think clearly is secretly, systematically destroying your brain's natural ability to concentrate? Stay with me, because what you're about to learn might change everything. Let me be clear from the start. I'm not here to demonize coffee or tell you to never drink it again. Caffeine is the world's most widely consumed psychoactive substance for very good reasons. Billions of people use it daily. It has legitimate benefits when used correctly. But here's what most people don't understand, what the coffee industry doesn't want you to know. There's a massive, critical difference between using coffee strategically as a tool and being chemically dependent on it just to feel normal. Your brain doesn't work the same way after your 3rd cup of the day as it did after your 1st cup ever. The neurochemistry changes, the receptors change, your baseline changes. The science on this is absolutely clear, peer-reviewed, and frankly, it's alarming. Today, we're going to explore in detail exactly what caffeine does to your brain at the molecular level, why that afternoon crash happens every single day, why you feel worse without coffee than you ever did before you started drinking it, and most importantly, how you can actually optimize your mental performance and focus without becoming a slave to the coffee pot, without depending on a substance just to function at a normal human level. Short-term benefits. Let's start with the positive side, the reason coffee became so popular in the first place. When you drink coffee and caffeine enters your bloodstream, it crosses the blood-brain barrier remarkably quickly, typically within 15 to 45 minutes, depending on various factors. Once caffeine molecules reach your brain, they do something very specific and elegant. They block adenosine receptors. Now, adenosine is your brain's natural brake pedal, the neurotransmitter molecule that accumulates in your brain throughout the day as you use energy, making you progressively feel more tired and ready for sleep. By blocking these adenosine receptors, caffeine essentially removes that brake. With the brake removed, other neurotransmitters like dopamine and norepinephrine can flow more freely through your neural pathways. Your neurons start firing faster and more efficiently. Clinical studies consistently show that a moderate dose of caffeine, somewhere around 75 to 150 milligrams, which is roughly 1 cup of coffee, can measurably improve reaction time, sustained vigilance, logical reasoning ability, and even mood. Athletes demonstrate improved endurance and power output. Students score statistically higher on cognitive tests. This is real, scientifically validated, measurable cognitive enhancement happening in your brain. But here's the absolutely critical part that most coffee drinkers completely miss, the part that changes everything. These cognitive benefits are what scientists call acute effects. They happen primarily when your brain is not yet adapted to regular caffeine consumption. That very first cup of coffee on a Monday morning, especially if you don't drink coffee regularly or you've taken a break, can genuinely feel like someone flipped a biological switch in your head. Your focus sharpens dramatically, your mood lifts noticeably, mental fog clears, you feel energized, capable, even unstoppable. The problem, the fundamental issue that creates the dependency trap, is that your brain is not a static system. It's dynamic. It adapts constantly to its chemical environment, and that neurological adaptation to regular caffeine consumption is precisely where everything starts to systematically fall apart. Adenosine tolerance and withdrawal. Your brain is far smarter and more adaptive than most people give it credit for. When you repeatedly block adenosine receptors day after day with caffeine, your brain doesn't just passively accept this chemical interference. It actively fights back through a process called receptor upregulation. Think of it like this helpful analogy. If you keep blocking and covering all the doors in a building, the building will respond by installing additional doors to maintain function. Your brain creates more adenosine receptors. Now you need significantly more caffeine just to block the same proportion of receptors you were blocking when you started. This neurological phenomenon is called tolerance, and it develops surprisingly fast. Within just 1 to 2 weeks of consistent daily coffee consumption, that cognitive boost and energy surge you initially got from 1 cup now requires 2 or 3 cups to achieve. And unfortunately, it gets progressively worse over time. When you don't get your regular caffeine dose, perhaps you sleep in or run out of coffee, all those extra adenosine receptors your brain created are suddenly wide open and unblocked. Adenosine floods into those receptors all at once. This is caffeine withdrawal, and the symptoms are genuinely miserable: pounding headaches, crushing fatigue, irritability and mood swings, significant brain fog, difficulty concentrating, and sometimes even flu-like symptoms, including nausea. Controlled scientific studies clearly demonstrate that regular caffeine users experience measurable, significant cognitive impairment when they skip their usual dose. But here's the truly insidious twist that reveals the trap. When these regular users do consume their coffee, research shows they're not actually getting smarter or more focused than their natural baseline. They're simply reversing the withdrawal symptoms and getting back to normal. You're not enhancing your cognitive abilities anymore. You're just chemically correcting the deficit your dependence created. You're running hard on a treadmill, drinking cup after cup, just to feel like a non-coffee drinker feels naturally every morning. Sleep crashes and focus. Now let's discuss the hidden cost that compounds everything. The factor that turns this into a vicious downward spiral: sleep disruption. Caffeine has a half-life in the human body of approximately 5 to 6 hours on average, though this varies significantly between individuals based on genetics and liver enzyme activity. That means if you drink a cup of coffee at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, roughly half of that caffeine is still actively circulating in your bloodstream and brain at 9 p.m. at night. Even if you manage to fall asleep at a reasonable hour, that residual caffeine significantly reduces both deep sleep and REM sleep, the absolutely critical sleep stages where your brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, and clears toxic metabolic waste through the glymphatic system. You wake up feeling unrested, groggy, cognitively impaired. Then we have the dreaded afternoon crash that millions experience daily. When caffeine's effects wear off after several hours, that artificial surge of dopamine and norepinephrine fades away. Meanwhile, adenosine, which has been accumulating in your brain all day long, suddenly rushes into all those receptors at once. Your energy level plummets dramatically. Your focus completely shatters. Your productivity evaporates. You actually feel considerably worse than you did before you drank that morning coffee. The temptation is overwhelming, so you reach for yet another cup, spiking your neurochemistry again artificially, only to crash again later, even harder. This isn't sustainable focus or real cognitive enhancement. This is a biochemical roller coaster, an exhausting cycle of peaks and valleys, and your brain is paying a serious cumulative price. Reduced neuroplasticity and learning ability, increased baseline anxiety levels, impaired working memory capacity, elevated stress hormone production. The very tool you rely on daily to think clearly is systematically making it harder and harder to think clearly. That's the paradox of dependence. Smart coffee use and NeuroSharp. So what's the actual solution? How do you escape this trap? First, strategic use based on circadian biology. Limit your total daily caffeine intake to roughly 200 milligrams maximum, which equals about 2 standard cups of coffee. Consume it only in the morning hours. And here's a key detail. Ideally, wait 90 minutes after waking when your natural cortisol dip occurs, rather than drinking it immediately upon waking. Avoid all caffeine consumption after 2 p.m. to protect your sleep architecture. Take regular tolerance breaks. Completely cycle off caffeine for 7 to 14 days every few months to allow your adenosine receptors to down-regulate back to baseline. Stay properly hydrated throughout the day. Prioritize getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep consistently. These aren't optional suggestions or nice ideas. They're absolutely non-negotiable if you want sustainable, healthy, cognitive performance. But here's where it gets particularly interesting and empowering. What if you could actively support your brain's natural focus pathways without relying on caffeine at all? This is where evidence-based natural nootropics enter the picture. I'm not talking about miracle pills or magic solutions. I'm talking about natural compounds and nutrients with substantial clinical research backing their cognitive benefits. Take NeuroSharp as one example of this approach. It's a comprehensive caffeine-free formula intelligently built on ingredients like Bacopa monnieri, which peer-reviewed studies show enhances memory formation and significantly reduces anxiety. Ginkgo biloba for improving cerebral blood flow and oxygen delivery. Lion's mane mushroom extract, which research indicates supports nerve growth factor production and neurogenesis. Phosphatidylserine for maintaining cognitive function under stress conditions. Rhodiola rosea, an adaptogen shown to reduce mental fatigue. Essential B vitamins for supporting healthy neurotransmitter synthesis. These compounds work synergistically with your brain's natural processes, not against them or in opposition. No jitters or anxiety, no energy crash, no tolerance development, no withdrawal symptoms. They're designed to complement and support healthy lifestyle habits, not replace them or act as shortcuts. Individual results vary significantly, and this information isn't medical advice or treatment claims, but the peer-reviewed scientific evidence supporting these ingredients is genuinely promising and continues growing. Here's the bottom line, the core message. Coffee itself isn't evil or inherently bad, but chemical dependence on it is absolutely a trap that diminishes your natural cognitive abilities. You don't have to choose between having focus and having freedom from dependence. You can have both. You can reclaim your brain's natural clarity. If you're ready right now to break this exhausting cycle and reclaim your natural mental clarity and sustainable focus, I've created a comprehensive free resource called the Focus and Brain Reset ebook. It includes a detailed 7-day plan to systematically reset your caffeine tolerance, optimize your sleep quality, and naturally strengthen your brain with nutrition and lifestyle strategies. You'll also find curated links to learn more about NeuroSharp and how evidence-based nootropics fit into a smarter, healthier focus strategy. Download it for free right now from the link in the description. For more specific information about NeuroSharp, visit SEU link NeuroSharp. Your brain deserves so much better than another cup of coffee and another crash cycle. Take control today. Download the ebook, and let's rebuild your focus and cognitive performance the right way, sustainably. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Like, share, comment and subscribe.